So, Justin, a bit of a headwind yesterday, was it, mate?
Yeah, it certainly was. Just a niggly little 150 km/h southerly. So trucking my way from Palmerston North in an ATR nearly took me about the same amount of time to get to Fiji or Australia. But anyway, I finally made it.
Well, it gives us another day, another 24 hours to absorb what we saw on the weekend. You were there in Wellington, and also a chance to prick the balloon, I guess, and take more of the emotion out of it. But first and foremost, we shouldn't be losing that test match to Argentina, should we?
No, we shouldn't. Obviously the All Blacks pride themselves on winning every test match, and Argentina, and we chatted about this last week, Marty. I did say that they will be resilient. They are probably better prepared than they've ever been. So I said we cannot take them lightly. We cannot afford to be complacent. They were always going to be good. So we've got to give them respect because they are a side that they have shown recently capable of beating us. But unfortunately, on the day, execution was off. Their game plan was methodical. It was well thought out. And at the end of the day, they took their opportunities, which were probably more rare than the All Blacks, but they took them much more ruthlessly, and they deserve to win. And going all the way back to the question you asked me, given all that information, no, because we should have been better prepared. We should have been and had the ability to adjust and adapt when things didn't go our way, when there was no scrums, when we were getting pinned down by their kicking strategy. Then we needed to pivot and adjust and win that game, and we didn't. And that's probably the disappointing part of it to come out of for me, that even on bad days where the opposition are good, and you're probably having a day that you didn't expect, good All Black teams always find a way to win, and this team didn't.
A couple of things there that spring out to me straight away. It's the inability, it seems, at the moment to adjust on the field, and I don't know whether this is the players having too many coaching messages in their mind or thinking that, the message will come down with the water boy or something like that. Look, let's just take, for example, getting pinned in that left-hand corner where TJ's kicking couldn't get us out, where they obviously earmarked Talia for the same thing. I mean, an All Black side doesn't need instructions from above. These players are professional enough to figure it out. Why couldn't we actually place Damien or Bowden on that side and say, okay, well, you kick for TJ on his left foot, just so that the Argentinians have to rethink their thinking? Why aren't we doing the most fundamental things like that, changing things as they happen?
Yeah, absolutely. And recognition of where you are being suffocated and where they are actually executing really well. And at the end of the day, like off kickoffs in particular, where they were pinning us in that right-hand corner, which was on Mark Talia's side, I think he nearly took probably every single kickoff, maybe bar one. And what we didn't do is adjust and recognise that he had no room, he had no ability to put any footwork on, and we were getting pinned down in that area. Like, get a different receiver in there, somebody big and tall like Geordie Barrett, maybe shift the ball straight from him into the midfield and just change the picture. But we didn't. We just got stuck there and we didn't adjust, and they didn't chat about it. And that was just one of the elements of the game that really surprised me, that we didn't figure a way out to combat what they were throwing at us. And then secondly, the substitutes. I question whether or not Scott Robertson and his coaching staff made the right decision with Will Jordan. We were drowning. We were really struggling to break through that very resilient defence. And I thought that when they introduced Will Jordan, they needed to change the picture. They needed to bring, I felt, Bowden into first five and put Will Jordan at fullback, and all of a sudden change the dynamic of what the defence is seeing. Like Bowden Barrett is a much straighter player than what Damien McKenzie is. Damien McKenzie is more lateral, and it was kind of playing into the hands of that defence that was so rushed and equally so resilient, 15 metres either side of the ruck. Now, Bowden Barrett will offer something different, which gives other players different opportunities. And Will Jordan, he can open the game up from the back, very similar to what Bowden Barrett did at Eden Park. They brought him on, and he just changed the way that the game was flowing. He just saw things, played differently, and swung the game. And I just don't feel that we made good decisions in trying to change the picture of what Argentina was seeing, because they were shutting us down effectively.
And that comes back down to the head coach, because he's got to take responsibility. Justin Marshall, 81 Test veteran of the All Blacks, is with us. The most fundamental aspect of any game of rugby, obviously, is winning that collision, winning the physicality, out-muscling your opponent. We couldn't pull it off against England. They were very competitive. We didn't do it against Argentina as well. Where are we lacking in that most basic aspect?
Well, I think at the moment we're just predictable, and the opposition is working out that they can narrow their field on us. I think probably another problem that we have now, this criticism that I'm putting out there is not critiquing individuals in particular. I still don't feel Damien McKenzie is playing bad rugby. Just within the game plan at the moment, what we needed to do at the weekend was just, again, change up our attack. And by doing that, it would mean putting him on the bench, maybe Bowden to 10, like I said, Will Jordan to fullback, and just changing the dynamic of what Argentina are seeing. So it's not actually individuals out of form. It's just that we're slightly out of sync at the moment. Now, what the problem is our attack is so narrow. And another problem with that, again, is not criticism of either of these two players, because I actually feel they're both playing well, is playing Sevu Reece and Mark Talia together. What they do is narrow our attack, because they both gravitate towards the ball. They both gravitate towards rucks. They want to pick and go. They want to be a first or second receiver. Look, ultimately, it's what led to Mark Talia's try. But just think about that picture that's painting the Argentinian defence when you don't have your wingers holding width. They all of a sudden don't have to defend that zone. That zone is not a threat to them. So basically our attack then is in a sort of 30 to 40, like a 25 to 30 metre channel, rather than using the full width of the field.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
What we've got to do, again, is like when we make our substitutes, when we make our change of thought process in terms of what we're going to do because we're being worked out and not be predictable, we need to think about all those elements. So I just don't think we're doing that at the moment.
In terms of also fundamentals like set piece, I mean, what the hell is wrong with our line-out at the moment? We seem muddled again, don't we? And I just wonder whether or not there's just too much clever instead of clear thinking, and just, you know, these are the kind of things that you don't expect from the All Blacks, Justin. I don't expect us to concede a silly try just before half-time, which was a Super Rugby move from Sevu, batting it back, which is unnecessary. Straight after half-time, the Argentinians, they just sprang the bloody trap on us. They kicked for touch, got in good position, short line out. We were sitting there looking at them, we were asleep, and they scored. These are very un-All Black things. You know, just before halftime, you know, just after halftime. We own those moments, don't we?
Yeah, we do. And traditionally, they are very important moments in any game of rugby, and in particular in a tight test match. The line out wasn't totally dysfunctional, but it wasn't at its clinical best. And that was very evident, particularly in the last 15 minutes of the test match, where we turned over the ball a couple of times and actually we gave away a defensive line-out penalty when it was an important stage of the game. A few of those little things, and you mentioned the other two, that are slightly going wrong. These are components of the game that when you're in a tight test match, you've got to be accurate because when the opposition are up for it, which they were, you've got to win those moments. And at the moment, those small little errors, it's a lot of that discipline. When we use the word discipline, Marty, when you're reviewing a game, people go, oh, discipline, it's penalties. It's not just penalties. Discipline is handling errors. Discipline is a forward pass. All of those things culminate in you not being able to get into your flow.